Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another Indy Investor Pod. This is our last episode of the series that we've kind of been doing here. This is a 7-part series. Just kind of breaking down these different neighborhoods, different areas, different pockets that we see around Indy, and just some of the success stories, some of the things to be careful of. I've been talking with Steve and Sterling and Dave on this part, and we're just kind of breaking down for this last episode here. And we are going to talk about everything outside of the loop now on some of these neighborhoods and what you can expect. So with that, let's get on with the show. All right. And we are back with the last episode of the series of the Indy Investor Pod, talking about the neighborhoods and just kind of breaking down. And we'll definitely just in future episodes, we'll go into some of this stuff more in depth and maybe just break down like certain neighborhoods, like really get into it. We're just doing an overview right now. And these gentlemen that are joining me today have just done an awesome job of just giving their insights, their opinions, their stories, their experiences on all this stuff. And I'm really appreciative of them. And what, kind of just what these neighborhoods can offer for investors out there, no matter where you are, whether you're local to Indy, you're new, you've invested forever, or just any of the tidbits if you're living in California. So anything that can help you out with any of this stuff. So I have Steve Lehman and Sterling Davis and Dave Short with me again today. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. And let's just kind of get into it. And I just want to kind of bring up this first area. We're talking outside of the loop. And this is kind of the area that I feel like a lot of investors, they like this area, they hear about this area, but you really can get into a worse part of this area than just like literally going across the street. So, and this is talking kind of about the Lawrence area. So I see a lot of investors putting out properties, wholesalers putting out deals, and they say the Lawrence area when it's not really Lawrence. It's not the Lawrence school district. Well, that's the big thing. And make sure you check the school district of kind of where these properties are, determine on where you want to be. Lawrence is a great place to invest, I think, here in Indy. And I love that area over there. There's a lot of really good opportunity, especially for cash flow when you're looking at rental properties and stuff like that. Some flip opportunities over there when you get closer to Fort Bend and all that stuff. But then you have this pocket of, kind of the far east side of Northeast Wood and places like that it's literally across the street and it's a different school district and it makes all the difference in the world. So Sterling, let's kind of start with you, man, on what you kind of see in this area and maybe some tips or even some things, maybe some of the mistakes that you see investors kind of making over here in this area.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit it right on the head. I think what I find is that there's a difference between Lawrence Township and the city of Lawrence. And I think that needs to be understood. What you're really buying in. Are you really getting the city of Lawrence, Fort Bend area, that area, or is it Lawrence Township? For me, I found it was probably a year ago, I found this little neighborhood that I love buying rentals in. And it's north of 42nd, close to like Franklin Road area. It's probably it's actually north of 46th Street too. So it's going really, and that's kind of my threshold is like, if I can get north of 46th Street, I normally can find something pretty good for an investor, right? But we bought one from you guys on 46 in like Barlow, and then it was like Barlow Patton area. And so this investor we was helping buy, we bought the one from Simple Wholesaling for like 35, put 25 into it. ARV was north of 100,000, and we was able to rent it for 1,000. And we bought 5 in this neighborhood doing the same thing. Basically, we were like, all right, we know that 100,000 is our threshold. So we bought it anywhere from 35,000 to 65, all in different conditions. And we were able to do really well for that investor. And that's probably her best performing rentals when it comes to her portfolio. And she has them all across Indianapolis. But that's that area. But it's crazy because if you go west of there, it's this apartment that's been sitting for some time, right? Like, so you just have to be very careful. But, that's I like that rental area that is north of 46th Street for sure.
Yeah. Steve, what's your opinion on this area, man?
Yeah, I like the Lawrence area. I think it's a little displaced sometimes with investors. I think, people like to stretch it out further than what it is. But I there's lots of opportunity. I agree with Sterling. Staying north of 46th Street's always been my motto on that. When you get south of 46th Street, you got to be real careful where you're going into, what you're getting into. But there are solid rental properties over there. You can get solid cash flow out of these properties that are in this area. I mean, I really do like Lawrence Township and everything, and being in downtown Lawrence is also really nice too. If anybody has an opportunity to get out there, I suggest they do. It's a nice place, and it's got a lot of growth opportunity. There is growth opportunity out there if you can find it. So it's, to me, it's a good solid area to invest in.
Yeah, I know when I'm looking at like even just the standpoint of where we're buying properties and trying to wholesale over there and stuff like that, a lot of it is kind of that, that 46, you guys kind of pointed out that road. And then that, if you go into like in between that area between 46 and 42nd, it's really a kind of like, hey, I'm looking at the specific house, the specific street that it's like close to and kind of what's going on. But then definitely like south of 42nd, I'm like, that's like a $10,000 difference at least when I'm looking at like the difference between the properties and stuff there of north and south. And things. And then there's some people that have some pretty decent rental properties on that, kind of south of, 42nd Street and 38th Street and stuff like that. But it kind of goes back to where the success standpoint is, kind of talking about that Brightwood area. It's usually the local investors that are having the more of the success there than someone that's out of state and doesn't have a chance to really check on those properties and know what they're getting into when I see those areas and stuff. So
I have seen a lot of turnkey companies hang in that south of 46th Street and, to 42nd and 38th. And that's where a lot of the turnkey companies like to get into because they can find the properties for fairly, reasonable prices for them and be able to put very little into them and get them sold out as $70,000-$80,000 properties. So
yeah.
with 900, 950 rents.
Yeah. And if you can pick it up and never hear from it again, that's
right. Absolutely.
But
yeah.
It's just whether you'll never hear from it again is the key. And that's kind of what your relationship that you have with that company and how well they're managing with it and stuff. So.
Well, and I don't know what this area is considered, but like recently I find the new trend is like, if you go all the way down like 42nd to like past German Church, and you start hitting that area where you might be crossing over to like maybe Cumberland or whatever right back there. It seems like a lot of values back there. Like, it's a lot of wholesalers seem like they're picking up things that are east of that German Church area, which crosses over, even on like that 38th, you just keep down 38th. We're finding a lot of better rentals on that like deep, like almost crossing over to a different township.
If you can,
there's a lot of new construction going on east of there, and anytime you have what I call new construction that's lagged when the last new construction was 10 years, then you can always get value on those ones that were built 10 years ago, because now they're somewhat competing against new construction where, they moved into the house at, $105,000, $110,000, and that same house being built 2 blocks away is $140,000. Mm-hmm. So you can create value from a wholesale standpoint and from a rental standpoint. And there's several of those areas in that area. And to Steve's point, a lot of turnkey providers are doing, they've actually changed the neighborhood and made them a lot better over there. And we're now, an entry-level flipper, they can go over in that Northeast Wood area and, buy right, rehab, and get a pretty decent flip property. And a turnkey provider may buy it, and an owner-occupant may now buy it over there. Mm-hmm. So, that's not an area that a flipper should, just shun automatically because it's been such a high rate. But now the rents are good over there. And if they don't like it, they can re-rent it and probably get a pretty fair cash flow.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, good stuff, guys. Let's go across. You think about going across 70, then just south of that, kind of been more into that, Washington Square, Raymond Park areas and stuff like that. What are we seeing over there as far as I kind of look at that? That's a good rental market over there and stuff. So I know we're picking up stuff and selling off to for people that are just renting it out and buying holds, and that's what they're doing with it.
Well, we like it over there. I mean, we'll do flips over there for sure. And there again, it's that 10 or 15 year lag where if they haven't maintained the property, but they bought it new, 15 years ago and just normally paid down their mortgage, they've created a little equity without maintaining the property. So that leaves opportunity for people to rent it. It also leaves room for flippers like me to come in and buy it.
Dave, what are you usually looking at? Like when you're looking for flips over there, is it usually like kind of just in like some, the regular neighborhoods, or is it more of like kind of the cookie cutter neighborhoods, or what are you looking for over there when you're trying to flip?
We love the cookie cutter neighborhoods because we know we can always get value there.
Yeah.
But we really concentrate on the one or two streets, and Warren Township has a ton of those streets over there. So we look at the houses, that it's literally street by street. I mean, I did a couple flips last year on Bolton, and it was South Bolton, which is Raymond and Arlington. And you go in there, and it's just it's like an untouched street. 30% of the area, houses have been redone. The other 70% of people that's been there forever. And we bought a couple of state houses over in there, because the heirs just wanted to unload them and just feel like they got value.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Sterling.
No, I mean, what Dave said is absolutely true, man. I think that area is really good. Like, I think for what it is, it's a township. You know what I mean? Like, Warren is a township. So you get the values of what a township would give you, but you're able to get like housing, like you're able to purchase almost like we're in the Near East Side at times. You know what I mean? So it's like that combination that you're able to dive into. Now, I do think you have to be careful in some ways, in certain areas. But, I think if you're south of the highway there, it's pretty good. I really like where Warren Central is. Like, if you go south of Warren Central, I've been picking up a lot of things south of Warren Central lately. And what we were just talking about, like that Cumberland area, that cusp between Cumberland and McCordsville, and Warren Park is just some really good value of properties over there as well.
Yeah, it kind of said what I was going to say, so.
That'll work. So let's keep on moving kind of around the loop that way. Then let's kind of move into that kind of the Poplar Grove, or even into like the Greenwood area and stuff like that, kind of that southeast side of 465. What opportunities do you guys see there for investors?
I got a question, guys. So I'm working on the map with Sterling White right now.
Yeah. What
class would you consider Greenwood?
I've referred to it as like a B+, A- at some points. It's kind of hit or miss depending on what it is. So I personally don't. I have a biased opinion of Greenwood because I've had some bad experiences of going through some of the court systems and stuff with the city down there and things like that. But I know tons of investors that are pretty successful down in there. So I look at like kind of a B+ if I gave it.
I think I'm on the same track, man. He has it as an A at his past one, and we're trying to evaluate what that looks like. And I'm like, man, it looks like a B to me, not an A, because even the median home income is far below what you consider like the Carmel Fishers and things. So, it's just a thought.
If I had a choice to invest in like Brownsburg versus Greenwood, I'll pick Brownsburg over Greenwood.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as far as investing down there, when we're looking at kind of what the opportunities are for that, what are you looking at for your people that do want to buy and hold down there? Is it an A neighborhood in your eyes, or is it
no.
a little less than that?
Well, I think Greenwood is broken up. I think there's 2 zip codes for Greenwood. How I look at Greenwood is I look at how close is it to the mall. And that might be ignorant. Like if you're a Woodian, I don't know what they call them. It's like, like, I just made a name for you guys. Like you'd be like, oh no. They look at like Old Meridian versus like, the new Greenwood. For me, it's like, how close are you to the mall? That's how I kind of consider it. Our houses that are close to the mall are very good. They're very, they higher in value to me. Versus the ones that aren't, it seems like more of a small townish feel, the ones that you move more south away from there. So that's kind of how I look at it. But honestly, people might fight me when I say that, because it seems like they really look at it based off of like old Greenwood versus new Greenwood.
Well, I don't think the Greenwood people will, they're not, they're not a lot moving in. They're already there. So I think in the entry level Greenwood, they won't pay the rents that the properties will bring.
Mm-hmm.
It's if you get $1,000 a month for a Greenwood property in one of the production type neighborhoods, you're getting a lot from what I can see.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of, I'll say Greenwood been good for us more for the apartment side of it. We have several apartments, Blackstone is on Old Meridian. We have Wooddale Terrace, kind of sits across from Greenwood Park Mall, but it's a value add opportunity. It's a lot of value add apartments is kind of the value that we get in Greenwood more than the houses.
So
can you buy multifamily in Greenwood and with value add?
Yeah, well, you could, but now it's like now are the people willing to sell is the question. You know what I mean? I think 2 to 3 years ago, it was a lot of multifamily turning. In like Wooddale, we bought. It was I think it's a 14-unit townhome, and the value add was definitely there. But a lot of it's just getting the people to sell is the hardest part.
Okay.
what if just kind of picking your brain about that a little bit more, Sterling? When you're renting out to somebody in Greenwood, is it like it's just straight up, just probably just a family that's lived there and they're just looking for somewhere else to live? That's usually what I think of.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny, man. Greenwood has got me my stripes. Like I'll say, like Greenwood has been in a lot of families, but you still have some of that good old boyness to it. You know what I mean? Like I've been called the N-word in Greenwood, and then I've had like a white guy punch the guy that said the N-word. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like this combination of like of transition of an area, and that's a true story, where you still have some good old boys, but then you have some people that's like, that's not who we are anymore. And we're going to fight for diversity, and we're going to, so it's just kind of, that's what you get with Greenwood. It's that transition of what Dave said, where the people that's been there have been there and they're entrenched in.
Yeah. So how about we kind of move on over, just kind of keep going around the loop then, kind of that southwest side then of, we kind of like the Decatur area and stuff like that. So it seems like anything I pick up over here, I can sell with owner financing pretty easily. And it's I got some good value over here, but what are you guys seeing as far as, I know this is, good rental market as well and stuff. Dave, can you flip over, kind of in the Decatur area and stuff like that in the southwest side of the loop?
We take Decatur street by street. I mean, if somebody we don't look for flips over there, but if somebody calls me, we were successful on 2 or 3 in Decatur in the last couple of years. And quite honestly, the reason I don't I'm certainly not opposed to it at all, but one of the reasons I don't get over there is that we're finding opportunities in the areas we want to be. So from a geographic standpoint, and the drive time, that's kind of why we don't do a lot of stuff in Decatur, Danville, Avon, Brownsburg. Love to be over there, but don't like the 45-minute drive from my house.
Yeah. And let's kind of keep going that way and kind of talk about some of that stuff as you get out towards like Avon and Plainfield and those types of things. So, Steve, are you guys looking at like properties out there? A lot of some of your investors looking to pick up stuff out there?
I have people that have sent me out there to do evaluations on properties and things like that. And as a trucker, I've been in Plainfield and Avon and all that area over there, large industrial, heavily industrial. And, got Amazon warehouse over there and everything like that, close to the airport, striking distance for everything. You got shopping over there, heavy retail, which Avon kind of picks up off of that. Avon has their own retail and everything too, don't get me wrong, and they have some industrial. So the area are good little suburbs. Are they expanding in growth and stuff? I don't really think so. They are on the industrial side, because the last time I was out there, I actually had seen new commercial buildings being built. So it says that there's still growth as far as the industry is concerned. I believe that a lot of people who move out the Plainfield and Avon and areas like that in Brownsburg, they all stay. They're ready to stay. They're ready to establish that as their home. I see new families more or less moving out there and things like that.
Yeah. So Sterling, what are you seeing from, when you kind of think of that area as far as the rental market goes, and what you think of for your investors?
Yeah, I mean, Plainfield is just tough to be even to find a property in Plainfield, just because it's just not available. I was out there yesterday. One of my kids trains baseball out there, and I was talking to them. He was like, "Hey, do you buy out here a lot?" I was like, "It's nothing available out here." You know what I mean? And if it is available, it's hard to make the deal work. Avon is different, you know what I mean? Because Avon is like the stepbrother to Plainfield. That's how they look at it, I guess. But Avon, you can find some deals. We have several properties in Avon. A lot of those properties, though, came from foreclosure, tax sales, things like that, right? So you're not going to be – it's very rarely you're just going to be able to pull from the MLS, oh, man, this is a good deal. Let me go buy it, for it to make sense. So you kind of have to find those forms of discounting to make the numbers work. We've have several in Avon, though, that are probably some of our best properties that I like. Low touch, the families are great, but I think you just have to be able to find the discounted properties, though, is the toughest part.
Yeah, I know when we're kind of looking at when I'm evaluating properties out there, we get calls all the time from, people from Avon and Plainfield, even stuff like too. But I just have that honest conversation of like, you should not sell it to me. You should put it on the market. That's like, I'm not your best option here. If you need like a cash deal tomorrow, I can do it, but it's going to be the discount. But if you put it on the market, you're going to be able to sell it. That's your best option to do it and go that way and stuff. So let's kind of go a little north of there, though. It's kind of, we can go past Ben Davis, really good area, strong area just here in Indy, but even kind of, so we can talk about that a little bit. Then if you want to go even a little bit north of that, and like the Claremont, Eagle Creek, Brownsburg, kind of all that, kind of group all those almost together and stuff like that. I think this is a great area where you can kind of pick up some flips, some rentals, a little bit of everything right in here. I see kind of everything going. I know investors that we're selling to in any of these areas, it's going quickly and going for good deals.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think that for the Ben Davis area, I find that Chapel Glen area closer to the highway, you can get some great values and some properties that, I think for me, it's one of those things where can I be on the fringe? Like I can be in Ben Davis, but I can have the lowest like value or entry point. That kind of allows me to be a investor in a buy and hold. I think the closer you get up towards like Ben Davis High School and past there, the values go so high and it's hard to make the numbers work. But that by the 465, area is some great homes, great values, rental area. Like it's really a rental area. That Lyndhurst area as well.
Mm-hmm.
Great rental area. You get the Ben Davis School District, but the entry point is a lot lower than Raceway.
Yeah. So Dave, what do you think about as far as like kind of going past that, then up into the like kind of the Claremont and Brownsburg and stuff like that? Like I look at those as like really solid, like B neighborhoods, almost kind of in an A- that you can get some pretty good value for. You can kind of pick up some properties that you don't need to move too many walls and can flip pretty easily over there.
Well, I think Brownsburg and Claremont are probably A- neighborhoods,
Mm-hmm.
especially for flipping, because you can always, like you said, you can always get value putting a nice product there, and investors, flippers getting a good, a good return on money. And one of the things I'll touch on just real quick, because I know we'll have to get towards the end, is, and we won't be able to touch on them, but if I was an entry level flipper wanting to find something that I thought would have more risk, I would be looking at the peripheral towns, Martinsville, Mooresville, Barkersville, Shelbyville, LaPel, Sheridan, Pendleton, you just go around the loop. And if you get into these neighborhoods, you won't have a lot of competition on it. So, and I don't think anybody hits those neighborhoods.
Yeah, if you can't get into it, that means somebody's already hit it, and you're gonna like the McCordsville, Fortville, and stuff like that. It's tough to get in over there right now. But then you can find good deals out in Greenfield, since those have been hit up and stuff right now. But then up into, like you said, the Pendleton and LaPel, those are good areas. But I think that's a really good point, Dave. Of when you can't find some of the stuff that you consider like in the suburbs and things like that, just go out a little bit further, and you're gonna find the exact same thing. Thing that people want, but the value is going to be a little bit cheaper for you to pick up. So like the Shelbyville and Martinsville and stuff like that. So I know there's a lot of deals right now in Martinsville. So we get calls from there every single day, people looking to sell and things. So I know you can definitely pick up some stuff there.
Yep.
So let's move into kind of some of the big boys then. If you talk up into kind of go north up into, Carmel, Fishers, Noblesville, Westfield, and those kind of things up in there as far as what they can provide for some of the investors when we're talking to, straight up just A-class neighborhoods that, can you get into it at the right price point? And if you can get into it, then what can you do with it? And what can you expect from whether it's a flip opportunity or your tenants?
I think it's the worst area to ever be in. I'd stay away from it completely. Crime rates out through the roof. Just craziness. Tell you.
I like being in those neighborhoods. You have to take sometimes a little less return that you would like to do. Like on a turn $50,000 house, if you can find something you can make 30 on, that's probably a pretty good deal. Yeah. And it's a deal that a flipper should do because it sells first day on the market as soon as it hits. Yep. So I'm okay with those neighborhoods, and you just have to make sure your repair numbers, because all your profit, when you're taking a 250 wanting to make 30, your profit can go away very quickly on it. So that's the caution in being in those, A+ neighborhoods.
I think what I see out there is like Carmel. I'll see wholesalers put out a Carmel property, and not everything in Carmel is necessarily A+. Let's say, Carmel has its not so great areas, just like Fishers does and other things. So, wholesalers just say, well, it's Carmel. Well, yeah, it is. But you have to understand that some people are living in Carmel just to have the Carmel address. Some of the neighborhoods are older in there, so your values may not be as high. So I think sometimes it can be a misconception. Maybe Dave can disagree with me on that from a flip side standpoint.
Well, I'm going to just a little bit disagree, only because it's still an A+ neighborhood, but it won't be an A+ value. And because when you do redo it, it does sell. And just because, if you can get in Carmel in a redone house for $150, you've pretty much made a coup on it. And anything in Carmel that's $150 redone over 1,200 square feet is sold.
Yeah, you're going to be able to sell, and you're going to be able to get a family that even just, you're to buy and hold, just because you're going to have a family that wants to move in there just for the school district and stuff like that too, which is kind of going to be the same thing kind of over in the Fishers area and stuff as well. Yeah. So Sterling, what are you seeing like as far as, your investors that are trying to, I don't know, I guess pick up things for the right price in any of those areas? Is it?
Yeah, I think what Steve and Dave said is absolutely right. Like, understanding like old Carmel versus new Carmel, right? We have some things that are in old Carmel, and then we have some things in new Carmel. Old Carmel is kind of, that 106 and Meridian-ish area, like right when you get off the highway, you can tell the difference of those, right? Right in front of the Monon Center, the forgotten stepchild of what Carmel is like, but it's some great houses and some great duplexes in that area. Fishers, Fishers, Noblesville area, we have properties in that area, but you have to make sure, like I think the key is it's where you're getting the source of the deals from. You know what I mean? I think at one point we were managing a property for you guys up in that area, right? Like, in that thing rented in, less than 10 days. And I don't know what your numbers were on it, but the property was gorgeous. It was a huge like property, and the neighborhood was a great property. And it's I think I drove past like the neighborhood at one point, and I was like, hey Brian, it's a property in this neighborhood, the grass isn't cut, like you should probably call on it.
Oh, we called them, texted them, sent them a mailer, we did everything.
Exactly. Like, so I mean, it's just more or less like figuring out how it works. I'm sure that property was like, probably ARV was north of course of 200,000. So it's just really figuring out if you're going to go in that area, sourcing from the right place and making sure that you get the deals, because the stability's there. You kind of are basing off that appreciation game as well. So what you don't get in the cash flow, you get on the appreciation.
Yeah, and I think a big thing with this area is what it kind of falls right into what you guys are saying is make sure when you're looking at these areas, you just got to stay in your wheelhouse. It is very easy if you're kind of, hey, I want to buy something for under 300,000 and kind of stay there. It's that 450 property is going to pop up and you're like, oh, it looks enticing. Like, do I go after it? Like it's so easy to do, but something you have to be super careful of, I think, in any of these areas, because you never know what can happen and stuff like that. So just stay in your wheelhouse with any of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, on the rental side, I will say this, like, be cautious and aware of that it's a real cycle in those areas. Like, those people aren't moving in the wintertime, so you have to make sure if you buy it in the wintertime, don't get discouraged if it doesn't rent immediately. It's probably a great thing. Like, we had a house in Whitestown, which is very similar to that area, that bought in January, and it didn't rent. And the reason it didn't rent is because those people aren't moving. But right when the summer broke and people went in quarantine, it rented. Like, we had 6 applications, and the owner's like, what happened, Sterling? I'm like, these are owner-occupied areas, and that house is probably not going to be vacant for the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
I watched Simple Wholesaling buy an $800,000 house in Carmel.
That's what, stay in your wheelhouse. That was that.
The owner of Simple Wholesaling said, I think it's $120,000 to get it redone. I said, hell, your window bill's $60,000. So it's like, stay on your rail, man.
Yep. Very true. I will successfully say we did not lose money on it. I think we made like $800 on that deal after all said and done.
There you go.
You need to do a lot of $800,000 deals to make 800 to make your.
Oh man, but yeah. So any last little, even we can bring up. There's a lot of places, obviously outside of the loop when we're talking about that. Maybe you guys want to just kind of pinpoint like an area that we haven't talked about or haven't mentioned or something like that might be kind of a good area for somebody to look into.
You know what I found? Cicero. I went up to Cicero and met an investor up there, and she was showing me what her plans were, and she was successful with it and everything. And I like Cicero.
You probably did just find it, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Cicero, it's been here a while.
Cicero is a great.
I'm from Chicago. You want to know where the Cicero is for me? It's all mob related over there.
Yeah.
So Sterling, how about you?
Yeah, that's a good one, Steve. I didn't even think about Cicero's a good one. I think Whitestown for me. I love that neighborhood because it's the stair step neighborhood. So if you can find those like ranches on a slab, we do really well. Like I said, though, remember it's a cycle. So if you're buying it in the wintertime, it's going to be tough to rent it out. But once it's rented, we have about 6 houses in Whitestown, and it literally, 3-4 years, and they're highly qualified. We get nurses, we get doctors, we get professionals. So it's a very stable area.
And just a ton of growth up there as far as like houses are just going up like crazy. Businesses are going up like crazy out there, out past, 165 and, kind of Oak Road, like that area and stuff. So, yeah. Dave, how about you?
Greenfield. We haven't touched on Greenfield, and it's got all levels of houses in the town of Greenfield, and it's got walkability. And then you can get in the rural areas of Greenfield and find fairly, houses that need a lot of maintenance and rehab, updating, that's sitting on 1-2 acres. Anything in those areas that you don't have neighbors that pops up is instant cash.
Yeah. So no, awesome stuff. Really good areas you guys kind of mentioned there towards the end and stuff too. So really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this series and stuff like that. So kind of give you guys like kind of an opportunity real quick to just shout out maybe kind of the best contact information. If somebody wants to reach out to you after kind of all of these things that we've been through. So Steve, what's the best way for somebody to contact you?
You can reach me at my phone, 317-273-3552. You can text me or call me, or you can reach me through FS House's website at fshouses.com.
Awesome. Sterling?
Yeah, you can reach my office at 888-212-3764. That's 888-212-EPMG. Or our website at ethositypm.com. ETHOSITY.
Awesome. And Dave?
Cell is, call or text 317-590-4499.
So awesome stuff, guys. Really appreciate you. This is kind of our breakdown. Like I said, just kind of an overview of the neighborhoods here in Indianapolis. And with that, that's it. So thank you so much.
Thanks.